about this detention.
New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio and Police Commissioner James O'Neill say that they are working together to combat the mental health crisis happening within the NYPD. Their new initiative is called Finest Care, and they are at New York Presbyterian Hospital, where they have more details about the program. Let's listen in.
In cities across the country. And so it's clearly, in our view, a national problem. And that's no less true for our officers here in the NYPD, where so far this year we've had 10 officers take their own lives. In June, at the direction of Commissioner O'Neill, I convened a task force to address this crisis in the department. Over the past 4 months, we've moved with all deliberate speed to put in place a variety of wellness and health initiatives designed to encourage our officers to seek help and take advantage of the range of services available to them, and obviously with a view toward preventing suicides. This morning, we're launching one of those initiatives, which we call Finest Care. We're doing this in partnership with New York Presbyterian. Finest Care is a free, confidential service that will provide comprehensive mental health services to any of our police officers asking for help. And I want to thank in advance, you'll hear from him later, but I want to thank CEO Steve Corwin, as well as Dr. Phil Wilner here at New York Presbyterian for their willingness to help us out as we go forward with this initiative. It's really critical for our members. I also want to acknowledge members of the department who were part of the task force here this morning, who provided critical support to the task force in our efforts as we've worked over these past few months. Assistant Chief Matt Pontillo to my right, Dr. Eli Kleiman, our Chief Surgeon there to Chief Pontillo's right, and then also Dr. Lokesh Reddy, our psychologist, who is our Director of Psychology. Also want to acknowledge Inspector Nicole Papamichael from our medical division, the CEO there, and as well Chief John Clune from our Personnel Bureau. And finally, I need to thank and really appreciate Greg Roberts and Susan Birnbaum's help from the Police Foundation for their efforts in support in making it possible for us to expedite the Finest Care initiative with the hospital. And now I'll turn it over to Mayor de Blasio.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Tucker. I want to thank you. I know you started out as a beat cop years ago and have spent your whole life in law enforcement, and a lot of it focused on the needs of our officers and how we can make sure our officers are safe, but they're also well. And I know for Chief Pontillo and for so many of the other leaders of the NYPD here, it has been a life's work protecting this city. But there's always been understanding that our officers need to be there for each other, and our city has to protect our officers. And so this work that you've all done, I know it has been something you have put your whole heart into, making sure that every tool, every resource, every option is available for our officers. And this is an important initiative today because it's going to save lives. I just want this to be clear from the beginning. What's happening here at New York Presbyterian will save lives because people will get help, and that help will make all the difference. There's a lot of pain we are all feeling. This year has been a shock to all of us. 10 officers, it's unimaginable. And all over the city, people are feeling this pain all over the department, but particularly the families who lost their loved ones. Everyone is searching for understanding of why we are experiencing something so different than what we saw before, and all the ways that we can address it. And it begins with bringing these issues out in the open. So we're going to talk today about help that will be there for our officers, but it all requires people to understand it's important to come forward, to come forward and seek help. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's for family members too, and we'll talk about that in a moment. The crucial role that loved ones play in encouraging an officer who needs help to feel comfortable coming forward and accepting it, and getting informed on the ways that, as loved ones, they can support the member of their family going through a crisis. This is something we're talking about in our whole society, but it's particularly important for our law enforcement officers, again, many of whom feel that if they come forward in some ways, people might think differently about them. We have to dispel that notion from the beginning. And I'll talk about my own personal context in a moment, of what I saw in my own family. I want to emphasize always the strong thing to do is to come forward when you have a problem and to ask for help. There's nothing wrong with it. I want to thank everyone who's been a part of this and of all the efforts that we undertake to make sure that mental health services are available and that we destigmatize the entire question of mental health, because we have to do that for everything else to work. I want to thank, from the NYPD, Assistant Chief Matt Pontillo and Dr. Eli Kleinman, the Supervising Chief Surgeon. Both of them, with Commissioner Tucker, have put a lot of heart and soul and time and energy into making sure that this initiative and all the other initiatives are moving to help our officers. I want to thank Susan Herman, the Director of the Office of Thrive NYC, and until not long ago, also NYPD, for the important work she is doing. And as Ben mentioned, a great thank you to the Police Foundation for all the support that they provide our officers. They've really played a crucial role on this issue, on so many other areas, and thanks to Executive Director Greg Roberts, who's with us. Also here at New York Presbyterian, I want to thank Dr. Judith Suker, who will be the Finest Care Program Director. So she will be the lead making this initiative come to life and making sure that our first responders have this help when they need it. And she has a lot of history. She's the right person for the job. She has a lot of history working with and supporting our first responders. So we know that we're coming together here because of a lot of pain, but we also are here with a sense of resolve. And we have to have hope that making these changes will reach people who need it and save lives. And what New York Presbyterian is doing is creating a separate, independent place that our officers can turn to. And not just any place, a world-renowned institution that officers can have the assurance they can turn to whenever they need. This is against a backdrop of a mental health challenge in our society that is coming out in the open like never before. We're finally acknowledging that 1 in 5 adults has a mental health challenge. We're seeing things and being honest about things that used to be swept under the rug. And I'll talk about my own family in a moment, but as I do it, I will admit it took me a long time to be able to talk about suicide in my family, to be able to talk about what happened with my father. For years and years, even in public life, I just wasn't comfortable being open about it. And I don't blame anyone who feels it's a topic that we don't know how to talk about, because we don't. But we all have to break through together. And when someone is thinking about suicide or talking about suicide, that right there is all we need to know, that someone needs help immediately. But I think we can all acknowledge that for a long time, just the way our society functioned, in fact, people would say it out loud and nothing would happen. Or, you know, it would be laughed off or ignored. And those days have to end. On top of what we're facing in our whole society, including, tragically, an increase nationally in suicide across the board, we have to look at the specific challenges our officers face. And when Commissioner O'Neill and I were talking about this a few days ago, talked about just the sheer fact that our officers see a lot of trauma. They see a lot of human pain. They're there to help people in some of the toughest moments in their lives, but they then share in that experience. Even if they're the savior, they still see that pain, and they deal with a lot of stress and a lot of challenges. We're going to be doing initiatives like this, but we're also going to be working to try and find ways to make the work our officers do, the life that they live as police officers, easier. Because it's not just about mental health challenge, it's also just everything that happens day to day for an officer. Trying to make sure that their quality of life as officers constantly gets better, because that's one of the ways to address the stress. So that work will carry on as well. But we can say, even against the backdrop of a topic that we're all still learning to talk about, we can say we know some things for sure. And this is a message to our officers. You're a part of the greatest police force in the world. That is a fact. And you serve us very well. And you've made this the safest big city in America. And the people of this city are grateful. And we need to be there for you. And that's why what we're talking about here at York Presbyterian is so important, because if you have a problem, we all have a problem. If you have a problem, your whole family has a problem. If you have a problem, you have a right to help. And if you have a problem, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with having a problem and coming forward and seeking help. So I mentioned that it was hard for me to talk about my dad in public places, and part of it is because it never made sense to me how someone who wore a uniform as well, the uniform of the U.S. Army, was an officer, served in battle, decorated by any normal measure, a war hero, could go through such pain and decline so rapidly and not be able to acknowledge it and not be able to seek help. And having lived through it, I can tell you that people are told over and over again what it means to be strong, what it means to be the protector and the guardian. I understand why it's hard for someone who's been told that their whole life to seek help for themselves, or someone who's been told how strong they are to act on a problem that they might feel displays weakness, but it's not weakness. It's part of being human. I now realize I couldn't understand it as a kid, but I realize it now. My dad was not weak because he had a problem. He was a human being. In fact, his problem stemmed from having exhibited so much strength and gone through so much, including battle. But at the same time, we have to say there's nothing to celebrate about holding a problem in and suffering in silence. That's not stoic. That's not something to applaud in this day and age, because we're losing people. We should applaud people who can come forward and say, I do need help, and we should say there's nothing wrong with that. We thank you for coming forward. So today, this announcement gives our officers a whole new place to turn, and Finest Care will provide a range of mental health services for all of our uniformed officers. And this will start on Monday, this coming Monday. It will be a 24/7 service. I want to emphasize to all our officers that you can call 24/7. It is confidential. It is free. I'm going to say the number twice. It's 646-697-2020. Again, 646-697-2020. And I want to say something else to our officers, and this is common sense. If you think you should pick up that phone, you should pick up that phone. If you're lingering by the phone wondering if you should make the call, you should absolutely make the call. If you call and then the challenge you face is resolved quickly, God bless you, that's wonderful. But if it's going to take some time, if it's going to take some attention, well, then thank God you made that call. There's nothing to lose from making that call. Dr. Corwin in a moment will go over the details. And I will say what I don't think he would say, because he's an honorable and modest man. I will say that this is one of the finest healthcare institutions, not only in this city, but in the world. And so when we call it finest care, of course we refer to New York's finest, but we're also sending a message that this is the highest quality care anywhere. And this is one piece of a larger effort, which certainly includes the peer counseling that's available to all officers, including in their precincts. And as I mentioned before, there's another piece of the puzzle, and it's so important, which is the loved ones and the family members. And again, I know this from firsthand experience. Family members can feel powerless. They can feel confused. They can be looking for answers. Finest care is specifically for officers, but for family members who need guidance, who need help, who need to know how to handle situations, 24/7, you can call 888-NYC-WELL. I want to emphasize how important it is. You should never feel alone. You should never feel powerless. You should never feel without the tools or the information you need. If an officer in your life is going through a crisis and you don't know what to do about it, you don't know how to counsel your loved one or what to say, call 888-NYC-WELL, and there's a trained counselor who can help you 24 hours a day and literally talk through the scenario with you confidentially and help you know what to do. So no one, whether an officer or a loved one, no one should ever feel alone, and no one should ever feel that there isn't a place to turn. There is a place to turn. There is help available. So before I turn to Dr. Corwin, just one last point. What we've learned about mental health is it involves all of us. There's a lot of different social challenges. We see something on the news, we think, oh, that's about someone else. With mental health, it's actually about all of us because it basically touches every single family. Between mental health, substance misuse, including opioids, these issues at this point basically reach almost every single family. And that means everyone can be part of making sure that these crucial options, that they're known. Something like finest care is known to those who need it, that they know they can take advantage of it, that 888-NYC-WELL is known to anyone who's dealing with any kind of substance issue or mental health challenge. Everyone in this city can help everyone else to know that help is always available. And we've seen some tragedies where something as simple as someone saying, no, wait, call this number could have made all the difference. Or a family feeling that there was no shame in reaching out for help could have made all the difference. We all have to spread this word to address this challenge once and for all. With that, again, thanking him for the extraordinary partnership in this program. We are really, as a city, as a police department, we are honored to be working with New York Presbyterian, and they stepped forward with real passion here. It's my pleasure to introduce the President and CEO of New York Presbyterian, Dr. Stephen Corwin.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the kind words, and thank you, Deputy Commissioner. First, let me say the honor is all ours. This is the finest police force in the world. We have a profound obligation to this city, and we have a profound obligation to those people who protect and serve us. And we feel that awesome sense of responsibility in this program. We feel very confident that we can help. We feel very confident that we will save lives. I will say I appreciate, Mr. Mayor, your honesty about mental health issues in your family, but I would challenge anybody in this room, and it's quite a large room, to say that they did not know somebody who had a mental health issue or a substance issue or a family member who had that or themselves. And as the mayor said, 20% of the people in this country have one form of mental health issue or another. And we have to destigmatize that. We have to destigmatize that to allow people to safely seek treatment to make sure that they can get better and get well. It's especially important that our police officers feel that they can seek this protection confidentially, receive the very best care from the very best psychiatrists, psychologists, and we intend to offer a program where the sanctity of their confidentiality is always there, but that they feel that there is a hand helping them along the way. These are very tough jobs, but you all know that mental health issues affect every socioeconomic strata, every color, every person, and it's not just limited to those in the NYPD. But in particularly stressful jobs, these things can come to the fore quite quickly. So Dr. Wilner, Dr. Sukor will give you the details of this program, but I again want to say we're honored. The honor is all ours. And we intend to work shoulder to shoulder with the city, with the police department, to make sure that we deliver the goods on this one. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And now turning to Dr. Philip Wilner, who Senior VP and Chief Operating Officer in York Presbyterian Westchester Division and leads one of the top behavioral health programs in the country and also one of the architects of this new initiative. Dr. Wilner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As the representative of the clinical team, I want to let you know how honored and privileged we do feel here at York Presbyterian to play a part protecting the mental health and well-being of our police officers. These are men and women who protect and serve our communities every day. Allow me for a moment to speak as a clinician. We know that taking care of our city, serving this great city, is one of the hardest jobs in the world. Our police are in constant hypervigilance, ready to respond to the challenges that they may face with barely a moment's notice. With that responsibility comes enormous stress. And we all know that people often do not know where to turn when they feel enormous stress and emotional hardship. They often don't know how to handle it. The mayor described this very poignantly. This is magnified many times over when the person is on the front line, taking care of millions of our citizens and the visitors who come here every day. So with that in mind, I'd like to speak directly to the men and women in uniform and explain to them how the program will work and the importance of this program. I want to underscore some of the things that have been said here this morning, and the most important point is that help is just one phone call away. You as police officers may feel that there are no answers or there are no solutions to the problems that you face, the problems that trouble you. But I'm here to say that there are answers and we can help you find the solutions. We as clinicians do that. We do that every day. We do that for all of our patients who have experience doing this. We care for people in these situations. We will help you find the answers and create the solutions to the challenges that you may be facing. Now, we've tailored this program to the unique stresses that police officers face, with special techniques and strategies designed to be most helpful. So if you feel distress, if you feel you're struggling emotionally, or worse, if you feel like giving up, Finest Care is here to help. So just pick up the phone anytime, day or night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Dial that number and someone will be there to answer. You will speak to a trained coordinator who will help you schedule an appointment with one of New York Presbyterian's affiliated psychiatrists or psychologists. And I want to emphasize something that the mayor said. This is a confidential program with no cost to you. It has been set up so that no one at the NYPD will know that an appointment has been made or that you've sought service. I'll repeat that. No one at the NYPD will know that an appointment has been made or that you've sought service. So we hope that this independence and this special confidentiality will make it easier for you to seek care. As the mayor said, if you're unsure whether to call, whether your problem is too big or possibly too small to call, call anyway. Speak with one of our counselors, and we will help you decide how to proceed. It will take 5 minutes, but it may turn out to be the most important 5 minutes of your life, so make that call. And let me close by underscoring, repeating something that has been said, perhaps the most important point of this briefing, and it cannot be said enough. We all need help sometimes. There is no need to struggle alone. No issue is too big or small. No issue is something that we don't have experience understanding. You are there to support us, and we are here to support you. So pick up the phone should you have the need, and we'll be there to help. The mayor shared the number. I'll repeat it. The number is 646-697-2020. And as of early Monday morning, we'll be ready to go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wilner. Beautifully said. And I'm just going to take something you said I thought really crystallized. I'm going to change it just a little bit. You said the 5 minutes that call, you said those 5 minutes might be the most important 5 minutes in your life. I'm going to say it a little differently. Those 5 minutes might save your life. That 5-minute phone call might save your life, might keep your family whole. So I agree with you 100%. And again, the spirit you've heard here from New York Presbyterian, the spirit of this is a institution beloved in this city that wants to give back to our officers and is ready, willing, and able to do it starting Monday morning. And thank you again to the whole team for all you are doing. Let's take questions from the media on this initiative, and then we'll talk about other topics. Gloria.
Mr. Mayor, I just wonder if you could, someone here can walk us through what would happen if an officer, what happens when that officer makes that call. Are they connected with a counselor and then set up with someone they can come and see? They make an appointment. What does it look like?
Yes, I'll respond. So if someone makes the call, we have people, representatives, coordinators who are available 24/7 manning the phone, so there will always be a person answering the phone. That person will connect based on the needs, because different people will call with different needs based on the need. That coordinator will connect the officer with a psychiatrist or psychologist, and the officer will then go to somebody's private office, and it will move forward there the way clinical care moves forward in typical circumstances.
Phil, you just want to describe the training of a coordinator?
Yes, so these are coordinators who do this work in many of our programs. They're people who have clinical training to understand how to speak with somebody on the phone, how to elicit clinical information in an empathic, compassionate way. By and large, people who call are anxious. By and large, people who call are uncertain as to what's going to happen. We have the experience of dealing with that.
Amen.
The privacy aspect of this, that the department won't be notified if someone seeks help. Why are you making that clear? Is there still something within the department that's going on in terms of the rules about what happens to an officer if they seek help? Because some of what we've heard recently is that officers are concerned about seeking help or taking certain medication and the consequences that might have on the job. So has there been a change?
I'm going to make a common sense point and then turn to the experts to speak in more detail. So we have a problem in this society when it comes to acknowledging mental health problems, right? We have a stigma, we have a wall up for everyone, not just our officers. And then on top of it, officers are concerned, and I don't blame them because of everything that's swirled around for years and years and years about mental health, that if they show some vulnerability, it could have a negative result. That's why we're trying to emphasize from the beginning, this is confidential. Pick up that phone. I mean, we've lost 10 good people And I believe in my heart, had they understood, at least in some of the cases, that help was there, it might have been saved. So we need people to not worry about all the other possibilities and concerns, but just think, I can pick up this phone, I can speak to a medical professional, it's confidential, no one needs to know about it. It's free. There's just nothing in the way. Just pick up that phone. That's what we're trying to get across first and foremost. That's why confidential and free is such an important part of the equation. Go ahead.
And I would just add, and then I'll ask Matt and maybe Dr.
Hang on, guys. We're having a problem up front here. I don't know. I've not had this at other press conferences. So, Freddie, do you got to do something here?
Can we just get you guys just to stay down or pick a side? No more jumping around, please.
Okay. This is like, guys, we're just listen, everyone. This is real simple. We have a serious topic. We're having a problem back there with here. Just everyone get arranged once, and we can all continue our conversation. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, and more on this story on CBS New York later today.